Hello. Hello, welcome to Everyday Ordinary Extraordinary Women podcast. I'm Martina and I'm here with Christina.
Hello, everyone.
And we were inspired to create this podcast after pondering this question. What would the world look like where we can be inspired by every person? Usually we're very quick to compare and judge ourselves and others. And when we do that, everybody's losing. So depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking, or arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options. And neither of those two options make us feel great. Now, here's our thought. Someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from first impressions, and we invite you, the listener, to go beyond first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There's inspiration at every corner, in everyone, if we're willing to look. And today we're here with Jessica Stewart. And Jessica is a holistic love and dating coach, an ex-matchmaker, and as well as a spiritual seeker, a student, and a mentor who holds a degree in opera singing and has performed off-Broadway. She identifies as a world-traveling free spirit that's so juicy, an authenticity and self-love warrior, a sacred rebel, and a passionate lover of people, life, and dancing. Welcome, Jessica. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Martina and Christina, for having me here today. I'm so honored and excited to be on your podcast. Um, little bit about myself. Let's see. I grew up in New Jersey, and my first passion in life was singing. I ended up going abroad to get a degree in opera singing, as you had mentioned. Um, Getting into the opera path was totally by accident. I loved doing musical theater, but I fell in with a voice teacher who was teaching the classical technique. And so that's kind of where I went. 5 days into moving to college, I met my ex-husband, Miles, who I was with for 10 years. Wonderful guy, just wasn't the right fit. I moved over to England to be with him. And and then we moved back here. I lived in New York City for a number of years, over a decade. Um, when I moved back there, that's when I was really pursuing my performance career. And then when we got divorced a few years later, that is when somehow life brought me into the love industry. My first job was at a matchmaking company. We got divorced, and I was like, oh, now I gotta get a real job. So I had a friend who was working for this matchmaking company. It was very aligned with like my personality and experience that I had in ways. So yeah, that started that path and career. And then I was matchmaking for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. In that time, also exploring, falling down, having lots of experiences in my own love life. Um, so the combination of my own journey in love and the matchmaking experience that I was having, speaking with thousands and thousands of single people, led me ultimately to go down the coaching route as I figured things out for myself, as I wanted to, as I was helping clients. I was just learning so much. So I ended up getting accredited, working with Catherine Woodward Thomas, who's the author of Conscious Uncoupling and the book Calling in the One, which takes a more spiritual, holistic type angle on coaching, if you will. And that's why I call myself a holistic love coach. I'm not really into the tips and tricks, that get you the guy or girl. I'm into the authenticity piece. I'm into the heart-centered beingness piece. And that's how I aim to live my life. And the term sacred rebel, which you listed, that's actually, I don't know if Alana Fairchild, who she does oracle decks, and she has a deck called Sacred Rebel, and I just love that term so much. And for me, that is about living a heart-centered, heart-led life, where I'm letting my own inner being guide the way, as opposed to being um, my actions and beliefs being dictated by just the societal norms. So that's what I'm passionate about. And I have found that as I've come into more of this authentic self, um, it's been really the magnetizer of authentic love, whether that's romantic love, whether that is friendship love, just love for myself, just being yourself is how you like love yourself. And it takes a lot of bravery sometimes, and a lot of breaking away, breaking through, old patterns and beliefs. So yeah, so that's what I'm passionate about. That's me.
It's beautiful. And that's one of the things that I love about you. I love your smile. I really love your smile. I love when you share, because it's really like really trying to contribute, trying to make a difference in the world. I so appreciate that about you. So, could you finish this sentence for me? If you really knew me, you would know. What would we know if we really knew you?
If you really knew me, what comes to mind is you would know that I have a mushy heart, and I'm sensitive, and I have a persona, if you will, that is, strong. Um, but I see a lot, I feel a lot, I care a lot. And I also want to share that, as much as, I am about self-love, and I have gone on such a journey in that. But I'm also superhuman, and I have my days and my moments of self-doubt. So, I never want anyone to think that, just because I'm this, like, smiley, vibrant, confident person, that I'm not in the dumps sometimes, or like battling my own inner demons. It's a roller coaster to be human. And so I feel like the best we can do, or I can do, is to really embrace that and appreciate whatever state I'm going to show up in, and name it. I like, as before this call, name it. Presence, what's real. And I think we can all relate to that.
That's so beautiful, because it's really like none of us, I sometimes say, I don't even believe the Dalai Lama is always flying high, right? We all have those, you know, he might have more training to get himself out of the gutter.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so he's faster and quicker and whatever, but we all have that, right? We all have the ups and downs, right? And people see what they want to see, right?
Oh, isn't that true?
And,
Absolutely.
and it's so beautiful that you say that, because we all have that, right? We all have the ups and downs and the in betweens and the wow, life is hard and everything looks a little gray right now. And then you're like, wow, the sun's out. Isn't that a great day?
Right? Yeah. And I liked what you said as well. Like the Dalai Lama might not stay in the dumps as long. And I feel like that's why we do that inner work, or why a lot of time, like what we're gaining from so much of this personal development and exploration. It's not because the expectation is that we're never going to be, have human moments, or, have challenging times, maybe even months at a time, but we have a toolbox, that we can draw upon, um, to get us out, to elevate our vibration, as they might say, or as I might say.
That's such a cliche, but yeah, no, it's like it for me, it's that, like life as you imagine it, that goes straight line, right? And life as it is, it's like, okay, you're going straight and you're going up and then you're going down and there's a lake in the middle that you have to cross somehow. And then, you
Hmm.
know, and we forget, we believe that, and I believe that's part of social media, right? It's like always that perfect world that gets depicted, right? Everybody wants to
Yeah.
show only the best, right? And it never is that way, right? And so we might feel less than when we have those not so great moments. So thank you for
Mm,
bringing that up.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Jessica, we're going to move into our icebreaker. So tell us a funny or silly or embarrassing story about yourself.
Okay. Um, I guess a funny story, at least I find it funny. Yeah, a funny story that comes to my mind, was when I was traveling in Thailand. So before I went to Thailand, or I should go back further than this, I always wanted a tattoo. As the sacred rebel that I am, I always wanted a tattoo. And, I've never got one because I knew I hadn't gotten one previously, because I knew that if I was going to put something on my body, I had to know, it had to be special.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what I wanted there. So I heard about these sacred magical tattoos that these monks do in Thailand, by hand, and they pray while they tattoo you this like Sanskrit, message. And so before I went, I was like, okay, that's what I want. And I researched, different tattoo artists, or yeah, people that specialize in that. And I found one that was of interest to me that I wanted to go to when I was in Bangkok. So I went to Thailand with my sister. We did like a 3 week trip. It's freaking amazing there. If you haven't been, it's just like, yeah. But anyway, so finally the time comes in our trip that I am ready to go to this person. So we show up early in the morning. You don't make an appointment, you just show up early on the day. So I showed up early. And when we arrived, we were guided to go to the back of this Buddhist monastery, and in it was basically to a chicken shack. And when I saw this chicken shack, by the way, the artist was not there yet. Um, I had an instant sinking feeling in my stomach. I was like, this is not what I imagined. I'm not sure if, this is what I want to, if this feels right. But nobody was there. And so there was a bench. And so me and my sister decided to go sit on the bench. And, I'm just waiting. Inside my stomach is like churning, and I'm having, my thoughts are going. And for the first time in like the 3 week trip, my mother calls. Now, my mother hates tattoos. And the moment she called, I was like, I knew in my gut, this is my out. This is my sign from the universe. Don't do it. So she called. I told her the funny story. I ended up not getting the tattoo, and it was that's my funny story. Just the timing of that. My mother was very happy she called when she did. Yeah.
Oh my lord, I love this story. I love so I love from the very beginning when you started introducing yourself that there's this whole pattern of trusting the guidance of the universe and all of like how you're guided to your singing career and all of it. It's just really trusting that, oh, here's the right coach and here's the right teacher and here's where I should go. And I feel like this story is almost the same in like, whoa, here's my message from my mom. Like, and
Yeah.
if mom is not the one to be like, don't get the tattoo, then I don't know who is.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something that's developed and, something that, as we look back in our lives, I should say, stop saying we, but as I look back in my life, I can make more and more of those associations or terminations because one thing always leads to another, always leads to another, always leads to another. And I do like to believe that, it's always perfect and life is working out for me and, for my highest service. And I mean, from the spiritual studies that I've done, it's like just believing that is part of the manifestation or the what we do to manifest that as reality because what we believe is what we receive is what we perceive. you know so yeah, thank you.
Really powerful.
So tell us about the time you took a chance for love. And it might not necessarily be romantic love.
Yeah. I'm so existential that I get a lot of different things that come to me for this because when I think about taking a chance for love, I think about taking a chance for me. Because like I am my biggest project in life. But if I were to, what I actually want to share is, sorry, the other thing I want to share about that is, sorry, I'm like too many ideas at one time. When I took a chance for love, so it was when I met my ex-husband, and he was British. We met in Toronto, Canada. And after a year of being together, and I'm like 18, 19 years old, I decided, without consulting my parents, that I was going to go move over to England to be with him. So taking that leap and moving there was definitely a time I took a chance for love. But what also comes up in my mind is that chance that I took didn't feel like a chance. I think that, for me, these times where I've quote unquote took a chance on love or like a somebody, if it's actually been love, it's been a natural thing to do. And kind of back to what you were saying, Christina, something that I was guided to do. I didn't really feel doubt about it. It wasn't even taking a chance. It was like, oh, yeah, this is what I want.
Yeah, I can get that completely. It's funny. We've all been to Thailand, the three of us. And for me, I went to go study Thai massage, but it came right after my mom had passed away. And I got this thing in the mail to do this class. And I just knew I had to go, to the point where people would ask, how are you doing? And I would just start crying. I'm okay, but I have to go to Thailand and I can't afford to go. And like, it made no sense to me. It made no sense to anyone around me. My sister finally was just like, here's my credit card, charge your trip. I don't know why you have to go, but you have to go. It was a truly healing experience. And when I came home, Martina and I did a workshop with this woman, Discovering Your Soul's Intent. And we're sitting at lunch with Lindsay, and Lindsay would just spout these things that would pop into her head as a medium. And she goes, oh my God, guys, Christina was a priestess in Thailand in a past life. And Martina was just like, wait, what? And it's funny, like, we just don't know this stuff, right? But like, I couldn't understand why I had to go. But then in hindsight, it all made sense. Like, I needed to heal whatever I needed to heal through that lens or whatever. So the world is miraculous and it's only fun, and you don't even understand all these little strings that are connected. But they're really cool.
I love it so much. To people that are listening to this, they can't see, but I'm shimmying. This is like my tail. I like my tail wag. I have this thing like when I get excited, I kind of have a little shimmy. But I love that priestess in Thailand, and you were called to go there and heal,
It's just so
something
cool when
that's
you
so
trust
cool.
those little,
I
it may not make sense, but when you trust them, they're so powerful.
Yeah.
so you were when you started talking about taking a chance for love, you were saying that you're your major project, which is just like one of the best things, right? For all of us. And even though you knew, it still was taking a chance. So I just want to, it's both, right? It's still because you could have said no. You could have, right? It might not have crossed your mind that you could say no, right? Because I often people tell me, well, you have a choice. I'm like, not really. This is the way, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I still have the choice, right? I'd still take that chance every moment I take a step forward, right? Into whichever direction I go. But I loved when you started with you're your biggest project and you're your biggest, like, we all need that falling in love with ourselves. That's just one of the biggest gifts we can give the world.
So
It truly
true.
should be our only focus, right? Because if we truly are loving ourselves, then we are learning how to receive, which teaches us how to give, which teaches us how to be completely open and authentic in any situation, right? And so we're always going to be our best self if we are always focused on loving ourselves to the best of our ability, which is not normally our focus, right? But it's another podcast.
Here, here, Christina. I'm giving finger snaps over here with everything you're saying. That's another one of my body is saying yes. Spirit is saying yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Mm-hmm. So, Jessica, what's your superpower?
Woo! What's my superpower? Okay. I mean, I say this like coyly, like I feel like I have a few superpowers. I'll just name
You
a
can
couple.
share
Like
them all. It doesn't
I'll
matter.
I'll I'll name two. Number one is I have been told that I have this ability to change the energy in a room, just entering it with my energy. But if I really think I think my ultimate superpower, honestly, it's my singing. It is my singing voice. Um, it's a talent that I own. It is God given. It's cultivated as well. But talk about changing the energy in a room. I have many experiences where I have sung, and it impacts people. It touches people on a deep level. I had a friend say, like you made grown men cry, and not that that should be abnormal, but no, it's definitely my superpower, my gift, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am. I I own it, but it's beyond me. I'm a channel for it. And truthfully, it's something that I'd like to be sharing more. And it's one of the things on my my belt, like in terms of things I want to pursue in life. I have so many, places to put my energy. And I mean, where I'm at with the singing is it should be shared, but I also at this point really want it to be organic. Um, I'm at this phase right now where I'm trying to let's say like let go and let God, as they say, just put one foot in front of the other. And I trust that when the circumstances are right, I'll have my opportunities to share and sing. And I don't have an idea of what it has to look like. When I was younger and I was pursuing, more like, music and acting more actively, it was very different. But actually that for me took the joy out of it. So at this point, I love it just to be a gift. It doesn't have to be my main bread and butter. I mean, but yeah, it's
Who knows, right?
yeah,
Who
exactly. I'm
knows?
not like shunning that either.
What came to me is like, how can you bring that into the work you do already? So there's a few things that came. One is we just had, in the men's podcast we were sharing, we started recording a men's podcast. There was one guy who plays the flute, and he was sharing about this flutist, and the word that came was embodying it, like just really being the music.
Mhm.
Right, and that's where he wants to get to, and it's just so beautiful to listen, because that's when it comes through you, not from you, right?
Mhm.
When you become it, and then it opens up everything, right? And the other thing is that, like, yeah, like, how will you? I'm curious to see how you will incorporate it into your coaching, right? How are you gonna combine it, right? Because ultimately we have all those avenues we learn, and then we put it together, and that makes this like magical, incredible thing. So I'm really, really curious to see where it goes and where you will take that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious too, because you guys are a member of the High Vibe Chicks, and so you have a lot of powerful women with their own magic, and when you combine with the right people, who knows what's possible?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. I mean, I very much felt like they are two things that could coexist, very complementary, but also I'm getting into, actually, I've recently been really listening to like a lot of like Indian spiritual music, like, Hare Krishna kind of stuff. Um, but I love the idea. I actually don't really write music. Um, Although I write, thoughts and poetry sometimes. Um, but I like the idea of channeling spiritual truths, into music that I can sing to or share, to uplift humanity, whoever
Who
listens.
knows, right? Who
Yeah.
knows? However,
Yeah.
however it's gonna turn out. I cannot wait to see.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Mhm.
We will see.
yes, we will see, and probably very soon. So Jessica, what made you who you are today? For example, what was your biggest lesson, or what took most courage, or when did you stand up for something that mattered?
Yeah. First thought that came to my head is like the adversity of my life made me who I am today. Um, but if and a lot of times that's true, I think we spend sometimes the first part of our lives creating creating a persona or protective, barriers, to keep us safe in the world, in this crazy world. And then, the second part of our life is spent unraveling all those personas and safety, safety mechanisms that we've adapted. Um, but I, I, another way I'd like to answer that question is the biggest, what took the most courage to stand up for, was when I left my husband, the one I mentioned earlier. Um, that took a lot. We were very enmeshed. It was not a bad relationship. It was codependent. Um, and we got together so young. Um, and it took a lot of courage to say this isn't this isn't aligned with me. I'm not living my full potential. And I didn't even have the skills back then to know how to be in a relationship and achieve that at the same time. I had to leave that to really get to know myself. Yeah, I feel like, what else do I want to share about that? Yeah, and so okay, yeah. So actually after I left him, that's when my life got really wild. And part of my story is, I online dating hadn't been a thing before I got in that relationship, and then it was by the time I got out. And so I threw myself into the online dating world. And because I didn't know who I was, and I didn't, have any boundaries, and I was a total novice, I ended up getting hurt a lot. And so it's really by going through all that heartache and all that pain and all that anxiety and all that letdown that, throughout my entire 30s, that I was brought down to my lowest points. And then I had to pick myself up again. And it was in that picking myself up again that I did all this inner work, that I went so far in my spiritual journey. And so that experience has made me like who I am, and particularly professionally, as a love coach, like that's where I've gotten, I got a lot of my experience. Yeah.
And every piece of that experience was necessary, right? Meeting your husband so early on, getting married, moving abroad, coming back, and every heartbreak made you who you are today, right? And that's part of what I hear that you're, I'm going to say, celebrate in this,
Yeah.
And
Maybe
I imagine
gift to the world.
it was a bitch, right? I imagine it
Yeah.
was a bitch as you were going through it, but that's part of what I hear, right? It's made you who you are today, and you needed all those experiences to become who you are today.
Yes. To become empowered and to cultivate what the gift was that I was going to use to help empower others. Because I know what it's like to suffer in that realm specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's, life's an exciting journey, just that's where we're talking about the beginning, like those ups and downs. Sometimes you get to a lake and you're like, I'm drowning in this lake, but eventually you get to the other side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. So Jessica, if you had a magic wand and could give people any quality, what would it be and why?
I would give people the spirit of giving. If we all had the spirit of giving, now we give from a place of abundance. So obviously that means we're already all feeling like we have enough, but we also have enough because we're always there to support each other. And that's what I mean by a spirit of giving. Oh, you need that? Okay, well, I can give that to you. Or I know somebody who can give that to you. And if we all lived in that kind of society, we would all have enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Because there is enough in the world. There's really no shortages of anything. There's only shortages because people are hoarding things, all right? Like there's always surpluses of food, even though there's people starving in places. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's
And the,
why,
mo- and the moment you start hoarding, you kind of block the flow.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest issue in this whole conversation. The moment you want to hold on to things, it gets stagnant, right? It's not flowing anymore.
ooh, that's a life lesson, isn't it? To continually, what do they say in some spiritual traditions, like die to yourself? I think that's like kind of a a very strong way of saying it, but to let go of who we think we are, our old ways of being, so that we can allow ourselves to constantly evolve and grow. Yeah.
And constantly, right? It's
Yeah.
like I'm not the person I was half an hour ago.
So true.
Because I'm
So
sitting here having this conversation. And I almost wanted to say, the moment we hold on, whether for ourselves or for others or to things, and it becomes stagnant, it becomes toxic,
Right.
right? That's the next, like that, because
Because
yeah,
the
it's like we
energy.
hold on and we become sick.
yeah,
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
and now you actually, that literally does often manifest physically, you know? Yeah, gosh. But it's so human, as you were saying, kind of, Christina, like to feel that there's scarcity. So that's why I'm a big fan of community. And, they say the happiest people, on our planet live in community. And our society is so um, individualistic. And I think it's a huge disservice to our spirit, to how humans really thrive. So yeah, that means it's meaningful.
Yeah.
well, one of the things that come to mind as you were talking is I think a week ago I listened to this it was a podcast. I don't know if it was a podcast, but it was Simon Sinek and Trevor Noah
Hmm.
talking about relationships. And because Trevor Noah asks him, so what are you pondering on these days, right? Because Simon Sinek is a deep diver. And so they started talking about relationships and how they made an experiment with a rat where they put water and water with drugs. And so
Hmm.
the rat would go just drink the water, and then it noticed that there's something different with this other one to get high, right?
Right.
And so they deducted that if you're exposed to drugs, you're going to choose the drugs. And then somebody came and said, but wait a second, we didn't do the exercise correctly because rats usually live in communities. So
Hmm.
the same experiment with the water and the drugs, and the rats in a community were much less prone to take the drugs because of the community. And we humans are the same, right? And that's part of also what I hear, like community, right? It's like if we work together, if we live together, if we give, if we have that balance of give and take, not just take, right? We can heal diseases. Absolutely.
Yeah. I had heard that. I'm snapping again. I had heard about that rat experiment. Was it rat or mice?
Right. I
Rat.
think it was rats.
Okay.
Well, they were talking about rats. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
paraphrasing
Oh
what
no,
I
I'm sure
read
it was
in
rats.
that
I just couldn't
conversation.
remember. Yeah, I had heard that before as well. And yeah, it's a great illustration of really, how powerful that is, relationships. Yeah,
Community, yes,
community.
absolutely. And the giving and taking in the community, right? It's like
Yeah.
because you can be in a community and still be lonely, but the interaction, the being together, that's what I hear in what you're saying with your magic wand, like that you
Yeah.
want that for people.
Yeah.
So what fills you up?
Um, okay, again, two things come to my mind. One thing that comes to my mind is when I self-express through singing and dancing. That fills me up. That gets my energy super like up and vibrating and out there. Um, but the other thing that fills me up and that is more meaningful to me than anything is my relationships, is heartfelt relationships, is actually also conversations like this. That fills me up so much. High vibe conversations about love, life, spirituality, like, yeah, like fill my cup like no other. Um, being authentic, having conversations like this and being so real, that fills me up. Yes, those things fill me up.
I love it. I just love the energy coming off of you when you talk about it. It's just, it's electrifying. It's inviting. It's juicy. It's what life should be like all the time. So good.
Yes.
So good. Yeah. Yeah.
Love
So
it.
Jessica, last question. What do you want people to remember about you?
What do I want people to remember about me? I guess I want people to remember that I am passionate. And it's kind of like maybe what you were just saying, Christina, that I'm somebody that comes in a room, gives off good vibes, makes you feel better about yourself, about life, just by being in my vicinity. I feel like I don't want to be big-headed or anything, but I get reflected that I have an energy. This is part, as I just mentioned, this is my superpower, an energy that can really impact people, the vibe, the energy around me. And I want it to be an impact for good. And I want you to feel jazzed, enlightened, inspired just by being in my presence would be really cool. that would be a nice thing to be remembered by.
Yeah. I've only been around you for the time of this podcast, and I am already enrolled, and that's who you are 24/7. Now, granted, I know you're human and you have your moments where you need to refill your batteries, and but I'd say you're probably living into that currently. So, yeah, what an honor to be with you on this podcast today.
Oh, thank you. And me, both of you. You told me so much about yourselves before we got on, and I love all the work you both do and who you are in this world and spiritual deep divers of life. And thank you for creating this platform to celebrate women. And I know you have a new podcast, Ordinary Extraordinary Men, and we all deserve to be celebrated, as do both of you. So, namaste.
It takes a village, and thank you for being part of it. And I'm just really excited, as always, to see what you are going to be creating moving on. And so I know you have a business. So do you want to tell us about your business and how people can get in touch with you if they would like to reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my business is Manifest Love Coaching. And really the best way to reach me currently is to email me at manifestlovecoaching@gmail.com. And yeah, I mostly work with single individuals who are struggling in their love lives. And, I can address a whole range of issues and struggles, from the mysteries and trials and tribulations of, online dating or dating in these modern times, to some of my favorite work, which are, the inner beliefs that keep us from receiving love and being the love that we are. So I'm very passionate about it. And yeah, thank you for giving me a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Being the love that we are. That's ultimately the takeaway of, for all of us, always being the love that we are. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Jessica, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for your electric energy, for your vulnerability, and for the space that you create for people to be their authentic selves in a relationship that makes them happy. Yeah, just really juicy. If you loved this podcast today, please leave us a review. Please share with your friends. And please always remember, you are extraordinary and you rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye for now. Do you want to say bye,
Bye.
Jessica?
Yes. Bye. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Mm-mm-mm.